Well, Mike, just to get started with, I know that you're from the Hickory area. How did you first get interested in racing?
So my parents live up there in Hickory off Spencer Road, and my neighbors, the James Spencer and Wilburn Spencer, and they lived a couple houses up, and so they always drug the race cars up there to their house, and I just loved it, right? And so then, and he still is there. Roger Starnes, that drove the Orange Blossom Special, still lives beside my mother in Hickory.
Yeah.
And so Roger and them and Jerry Ray and them, they'd bring the car, and Roger would park in front of the house there, his home, before going to Hickory. And then I just started, my other neighbor, the other Spencer, they worked a concession stand at Hickory, so I finally convinced them they couldn't run the concession stands without my help. So I would, so I hitched a ride with them. I sold Cokes that way. Once the races started, I'd just sit down and watch the races. I mean, they were good. But so I owe a lot to the Spencer family up there. They got me really going to the races. And my dad would take me every once in a while, and, I remember earliest when I was 6 or 7. It was still dirt, so I had to be 62, and I just become a fan, and I loved it, and I worked it, and I was very blessed that no matter what I did, my dad was a brick mason. I did that for a while, but I always wanted to race. So I was one of the few kids that knew what he wanted to do. He wanted to be part of it. So, and that's how it started up at Hickory Speedway, and I hitched a ride, did whatever I could to get to go and work, and picked up trash, did whatever I could in the summer up there, and just gosh, Rick, that's only been 55 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's how I got started.
Now, you actually drove
A little bit,
Okay.
yeah, not much. I mean, a couple races, and just didn't have the money. Me and Rick Townsend, we built a car, and just didn't have the money to do it. And we decided, if we're going, you have to make a choice. I wanted to be involved, so then we just started building cars. Graduated high school, and we moved to Greenville went to work for Mike Laughlin. Building cars, and okay, well, this is at least I get to be around it, and. I always wanted to drive, but it just didn't work out. I mean, I'm fine with it, but then, so 76, 70, I was working for Laughlin, and Butch Lindley come in the shop, and he was looking for people to go to the Nashville, the All-American 400, and he asked me if I wanted to go. I said, sure. So, went to the race with him, and, then that over the winter there, he hired me and Rick, and then in 77, we ran for the national championship, won it 77, 78, So, it's I owe Butch a lot, and Joan and them, but I was very blessed to get to work for somebody like him because he taught me a lot about racing, and so that's how I was 21, 22 years old, and we ran 100 races, and so I got a good education on how to do it. So,
what made him such a good race car driver?
He was so calm, and he knew what he wanted, and he knew it's pretty much the feel he wanted. And and I'm gonna be honest with you, we were so prepared at the shop. We had such a system, we get back late Sunday night, Monday morning, we knew exactly what we needed to do. And, he was on some really good product deals with, Franklin Quick Change and stuff. Instead of us taking a quick change out and rebuild it, we'd take one out and just replace it, send the other one back, and they'd rebuild it and stuff like that. And we knew by Monday evening we needed to be on the scales, and then Tuesday morning we'd go to the truck terminal over there and get the tires, Firestone sent from Akron. And, then the whole day Tuesday was mountain tires and doing stagger and stuff like that. Then Wednesday, unless we went up to Vermont and raced on Tuesday night, you kind of throw a kink in our plans, but we always seem to make it work, so. But, the summers it was a long summer. I mean, we won a lot of races, but, man, it was a grind. It was a grind. But, I mean, you're 22 years old, and didn't know no better. I was very, very pleased and very, very blessed to do it.
So he's a great race car driver. Who was he as a person? Who was the Butch Lindley
man.
that you knew?
You know, Butch was such a good guy. We had so much fun with him. You know, he never ever just got upset. He just always helped us, and you know, a good family man. In fact, it was a situation where on the mornings we'd meet for breakfast down at Shaw's drugstore, and then we'd go to lunch, and then every evening he would take us, me and Rick, to his home and have dinner with him and Joan and Marty and Tonda. I mean, we were like family, right? And that's the way he treated us. And, you know, he was really good about reading people. Like Rick and I, we'd worked a lot that week, and he could tell, and we run 3 or 4 races. By Sunday even, we were done, right? We were done. We'd be in Savannah, or we'd be somewhere in South Boston, and he knew we were done, and he would jump in the truck and drive the truck, you know, for us. And, you know, so he was just, he was a good boss man, and they just took good care of us, and, you know, taught me a lot about, but man, you know, he was just a great family man, really. You know, in the winter, we'd go to church together, and just, you know, so we just had a pretty special bond, you know, so.
Now, where did you go after leaving Butch?
So Nancy and I, we got engaged. We'd still dating. She was from Hickory. We went to high school together, and so we was dating then, and then we decided we wanted to get married. So I moved back home here. I went to work for my dad laying brick again because I didn't know what I was going to do, but, you know, I knew that I wanted to get married to Nancy. So I did that.
So you went back to work laying bricks?
Yeah, I did.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did, and it was fun. I mean, you know, because it's like, you know, I've always taken it. You know, I was blessed to be able to do that.
Yeah,
to deal with everything. It really went well for me. You know, and I never really thought I'd go into cup racing. I figured I'd late model sports and race or whatever. So I did that for about a month, and then Harry Gant called me.
Did he?
And, you know, we just beat Gant for the championship. You know, and he had a falling out with Elvin and them a little bit, I think. And so I went to work for Harry, and we was going to run Hickory and Asheville. And that's what we did. We'd go to Maryville or places like that, and for a couple years, and won quite a few races at Hickory and Asheville. And I enjoyed it. You know, we worked a lot, but, you know, I was home, and, you know, we didn't travel a lot. You know, so did that for a couple years. And then Harry, he was so in September, so it had to be 80 or something like that.
Well, he went cup racing in 79.
Yeah, 79. So we still raced some.
Yeah,
you know, kept the cars, and, you know, he'd do it for deal money. And, you know, so we were at Richmond, and we had engine problems. And, you know, Harry was driving the Cup car, so it was just me and another guy, Brad Hall. And I think we stuck a lift or broke a push rod or something like that. But anyway, so I had the whole top of the engine tore apart. Like, man, I just kind of knew what I was doing. I mean, you know, it's not like I hadn't done stuff like that before. And Maurice Petty walked by. And, I mean, it's what, you know, anyway, I was just digging because we had to qualify. And, you know, anyway, so he walked by, then he come back, and, you know, he said, "Do you know what you're doing?" I go, "Probably not," or something like that. I don't know what I really said. He said, "How old are you?" I said, "You know, not old enough, probably 24. He said, "So do you need some help?" I go, "Sure, I could use some help." Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear what's Maurice Petty offering to help,
Yeah.
right? So then this kind of leads into the Petty Enterprise deal. So he was down there helping me, teaching me with his last and valves, because he could do one side, I could do the other one, just putting it all back together. Then Richard walked down there. He was looking for Chief. They'd practice, and like, where the heck's Chief at? You know, and he come, you know, so he come down there. And we was there talking, last and valves, just, you know, and the next thing I know, Emmon come down there. he was looking for Chief and Richard. It's like, it's kind of ironic. And then, so anyway, that's, that was kind of my introduction to the Petties. That's how it all kind of started. Cause whenever, I went there. So, but I quit racing for probably about a year. Worked in the tire store up there for a buddy of mine doing front end work. Just, it was fun. I mean, Niece and I was enjoying it, being married. I mean, it's very blessed that, so, so I worked up there, and Morgan Shepherd started a team because I'd helped Morgan some at Hickory, me and Rick. I owe a lot to Morgan too because, he was a great teacher. But anyway, so Morgan started that Cup team with Cliff Stewart, that 5-car. So we worked. I mean, we built that deal, and just worked day and night. And I quit the tire store and went to and we didn't take the Cup car to the Daytona race. We took the Xfinity car, Bush Late Model Sportsman car, and so then we went to Richmond. But we got there a day late because anyway it rained and we was just behind, and we'd had troubles. And we sat on the pole in that race, and it was a Laughlin Frunster car. Bobby had won, the 500 the week before, or something like that, in Laughlin stuff. So, and after Richmond, then, Morgan and I, we kind of had a disagreement on a couple things. And I said, I'm just not going to do this. I mean, because it wasn't no fun, and I had a good job working at the tire shop. I went back to work for my buddy at the White Tire up there on Springs Road. And so was in there, and Howard come out there and said, "Hey, somebody wants you on the phone here." I said, "Okay." So I went there, and they said, "Hey, Mike, this is Maurice Petty." And I thought somebody just playing a joke, and I just slammed the phone down because I think I was right in the middle of doing replacing bushings on a Mustang or something anyway, because I was, on salary plus commission, right? So it's like, and it was just buying a home and stuff. So so anyway, I was standing there and the phone rang again, and Howard answered, and he said, same guy. And Chief, he said, "Hey, dumbass, don't hang the phone up." I said, "Okay." He said, "It is Maurice Petty. I want you to come down and talk to me and Richard and Kyle." I said, "Okay, well, I work here in the tire store. I get Wednesday afternoons off." And so I got my truck and I went down here that Wednesday afternoon. And that's, I think my first race was Wilkesboro in April or something like that.
In 81?
Yeah, 81.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the first one, went into the downsized car.
Now, tell me about working with Kyle that early in his career. Obviously, he had a learning curve, but tell me about working with him.
It's kind of ironic because me and Kyle had this conversation the other night, just talking that here was two kids kind of thrown to the wolves, right? And we were both kind of learning together. Emmon had left. I went there because I was excited, but the week I went there, Emmon left, to go to Austin's, I think it was, or somewhere.
Yeah.
Went to, so it was like, dang it, man. Which, Steve Mill and I think Robin Pemberton was doing, or Steve Mill and Wade Thornburg, and those guys had a ton of experience. So anyway, Kyle, we had a lot of fun. We didn't know crap, I'm telling you. We just did what the King and them did for the longest time, and hopefully it worked out. But Kyle's car control was amazing. But we learned a lot, and really, the Petties, Richard was really trying to help Kyle, and really just had the fun to do one car. But they made it work, and we. Had the Buicks, and then we went to Pontiac. But it's kind of right. People talk now because I remember the car that Richard won the 500 in. He almost won Richmond the next week, but the clutch come out of it, right? Because you only had two cars. Kyle had one. He had one until I think we finally got another car done. Richard got another car right after that for Darling for the Rebel $400 or something. And then
There was 2 cars in the shop.
yeah, and we finally got
Wow.
a third car done or a second car done for Kyle. I don't think it went all the way to Charlotte for the World 600. Just, we just did what we had to do. But Kyle, we had a really good, because back then you drove everywhere, right? I mean, we drove everywhere. We decided. So we went for the last time we went to College Station, Texas, right? I mean, it's hot. Anyway, so we decided we was going to take, because we was going on to Riverside, I think it was. And so we decided, okay, we're going to take the Riverside cars, or we're going to take the Texas cars, and they took the Riverside cars in the King's hauler. So we got a truck and trailer from Cliff Stewart over there. It was a furniture truck, right, old International. And Kyle said, you ever drove one? I said, nah. I said, we can figure it out. So we left the shop and went down 220 to Asheboro, right? He drove down, I drove back. We're good. We drove, I think, to College Station, Texas. What a disaster that was. But we did it. And anyway, so while we were down there, it was so hot they canceled practice. And I don't know if you remember Slick Johnson, not the driver, but the other,
right.
They had a barbecue, and I think Gasway or Beatty, they just called it. It's just too hot. It's miserable. So we started drinking Lone Star beer, right? Kyle says, man, we got to have some of this. So Jimmy Martin, he worked for the King for years, right? And he lined it up where a package store around there, they sold us 100 cases of Lone Star beer, long necks, right? We run the race, went to the hotel, King and them, they went on the Riverside. So we put 50 cases of Lone Star beer in the front, then we put it between the cars, because we didn't want the cops, if they opened the back door, they just see a race car, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't know. We thought it was a bunch of bootleggers, which it might have been. We didn't know. So we drove, and God, it was rough. We did, because Donnie Allison had wrecked the World 600, I think, whatever, and he was in the hospital there in Birmingham. So we stopped and seen Donnie there in Birmingham, like driving that 18-wheeler. But anyway, so before that, we stopped in Meridian, Mississippi.
So you were coming back to North.
Yeah, we were coming back.
Yeah.
We were coming back, and we were going to fly to Riverside. So we got to Meridian, Mississippi, Unocal 76 truck stop there. I think it was parked out. Now, here we was. We hadn't slept in about 2 days. And, hey, let's check make sure the car's okay. We opened the back door and beer run out. The car had come loose. Oh, crap. What are we going to do now? So we figured out how to tie the car down. I mean, it was terrible. But we didn't care. Hell, we was going down the road drinking beer. I mean, we didn't care anyway. So, yeah.
All I can see is Smoking the Bandit.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, seriously, it was. So we made it to Laurel Cross, and Mrs. Patty Elizabeth, she was so against alcohol, right? Because, I mean, we couldn't even run a bush sticker on the car. So what are we going to do with this beer? How are we going to load it? Kyle said, I'm going to go up there and occupy Lee, Elizabeth. You get the tow motor. I said, seriously? Yeah, and put it down there in the Chrysler building. I said, now, I got to come around the building. It's the only way. He said, well, I'll get them on the other end of the house. I said, okay, whatever. I said, we probably should have thought this out more. So,
what fun would that have been?
Oh, yeah, exactly. So we got the car unloaded. I said, the worst thing is that, because Lee, sometimes he just come out there and check, right? Hey, how's it going? The whole deal. It's like, I said, you better be prepared that if Lee Boy walks out there, you're going to have to do him about face, because this truck smells like beer, right? I mean, it's like, okay. So we had the loading ramp. And so. Had
all the beer?
No, no. We saved about half of it. So it's like, we got the King's car off, and I got the tow motor, went up there, grabbed the first pallet. The whole time I was backing out, I just knew that I was going to turn around, and there was Lee Boy. How's it going, partner? With that pipe. But luckily, Kyle, he had them corralled up there in the house, and I got all the beer unloaded. Oh, it's a mess. Because it just left a stream all the way down through the parking lot, right? And it's like you could smell it. Yeah, so it's like, it took me about an hour to get all that stuff, put it under the Chrysler building, And the bad thing about it, I said, what are we going to do with it? Because it's not like Lee don't do an inventory about every day, give him something to do, get his walk in, right?
Yeah.
He walks and he said, put it back in the back and just put the tarp over. And I said, that's not the problem. You can smell it. He goes, I don't know. We'll think about something. Here we were. We just, like I said, it probably been about 3 days since we'd slept, and I think we'd drunk beer, and we'd drove, and we were right. We made it happen. Then, so I went home. I lived right down the blue shop, and I come up there, and I was working on, I don't know what I was doing, and Chief come in there and said, where the hell did you get the beer at? I go, oh, crap. I said, you talking about that beer down there? He said, you know damn well what beer I'm talking about. I said, we bought it. He said, how much? I said, we bought 100 cases. There ain't 100 cases down there. I said, well, I'm going to tell you. He said, oh, no, I know, I heard. Yes, Cliff Stewart called me. I went, oh, shit. Forgot about that. Yeah. So, anyway, but Chief, he was cool. He said, I'm going to take some. I said, have at it.
His hush money.
Yeah.
His hush beer.
That's what you want. So, anyway, that was the beer story, the Lone Star beer, long necks that we thought, as Coors there in Colorado, but the Lone Star was there in Texas, and it's like, holy man. But we made it, and but Kyle's a lot of fun. He's probably one of the, I love him to death. Just,
Did Lee and Elizabeth ever find out about the beer?
Oh, I'm sure. But it was so far removed. Like, Elizabeth, Kyle did tell me, Lee Boy, they were standing there one day, and Lee Boy said something about it, about the beer. And Lee Boy was good with it. It was Elizabeth, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's, but we I don't think she ever knew, thank God. She scared me more than anybody. She's a good lady, though. She made Petty Enterprise what it is, really.
What was the dynamic in the shop between the two teams, Kyle's and Richard's? Was it hard to make things work? Because you said that you had maybe enough money to run one car, but how did that work? But
we knew it, but it was never a problem. See, back then, like we had those Comfort Coach vans, right? You remember?
Yeah.
So it had the STP vans. Well, you only had three people that went early on each team, 3 or 4, maybe 3. And I was the motor tuner for the King and Kyle. Maurice made me the motor tuner right when I come there. You might crew Chief Calvert, you're going to tune these motors, or engines. I go, really? So here I went from doing lower control arm bushings on a 66 Mustang to I was tuning the King's and Kyle's engine, right?
Yeah.
I got a photo somewhere. Well, I got it somewhere. It's 81 at Nashville. Probably, if me tuning the engine on Kyle or Richards or one of their cars. But so I was the engine tuner. I was a tire guy and the crew chief, right? So it's like, Anyway, so it wasn't. Steve Mill, he was a good guy. He was smart racer. Wade Thornburg, he had a lot of experience there at the Petties, and Richie Bars and that crowd, the Fab guys over there, they were pretty special, and just. It's kind of like when you grow up and you really didn't have a lot of money. You really didn't know you was poor, right? Because everybody around you was poor.
Yeah.
So we didn't know, especially me. I didn't know. I had more parts doing that. Than I did late model sportsman racing, right? You swap engines and it was a short block. You had to put the water pump, the dressing on the front. Where Here, I mean, you still had a lot of parts to work with. So the dynamic, it was Richard they never gave. I actually think sometimes Kyle had stuff better than Richard. Richard, he was smart to know the future. And Kyle, like I said, we've talked about this, a couple of times that, that what we do for our kids, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's, but it was a good atmosphere. We got along very well. And if somebody got behind, as Glover went down there. So but I think riding together in the van to Michigan, Pocono, a place like that, it was a good bond for us, right? Like you never was separated.
Right. Yeah.
If you had a problem, you seemed to work it out because you knew you had 12 hours in that dang van. You're going to have to work it out. Seriously. Or it's going to be a mess. It wasn't worth that. But Steve Mill, great guy. Robin Pemberton was there. He's a great guy. So then Larry Pollard come and, Wade Thornburg, taking up deals after Emmett left and stuff. Yeah. And Richard had some really good guys, really good crew chiefs. And, Randy Cox was there. And just, they're still there, So it's really a family atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was saying, like, we worked a lot, and we took Thanksgiving Day off, but we worked on Friday, the day after. So this was the winter of '81, and I was at the president's shop because Nancy, she was working for attorneys here in Greensboro. She was off, and we didn't know what it was. It wasn't worth driving to Hickory 2 hours and coming home, because we traveled all season. I was just done driving, and so we didn't know what I was going to do. We was just going to go out for Thanksgiving. We didn't really care. So Richard, he just come up there and was talking because I was just working, doing something, and he said, "What are you doing Thanksgiving?" You and Nancy? I said, "I don't know. We're just hanging out, just not doing anything." So I didn't think about it, and so I went home, for lunch, and then the phone rang, and it was Richard. He said, "Why don't you and Nancy come over to our house and have Thanksgiving, right?"
Yeah.
And that's the way he was, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he loved the Redskins, so it's like, so we'd have Thanksgiving, then he always included us because our family wasn't there, and that's just how he was, and Linda and Kyle and Patty and, the whole clan. It's like, they were like a great family to us, and I'll always be indebted to them for giving me a break. And Maurice, I always tell the story. We were at Rockingham, and we used to run there to take all day, right? I mean, 492 laps, and Kyle, I think he ran 480 and blowed up, right? And we're standing there, and and King says, "Well, you gonna call Chief?" I go, "Why don't you call him? Because I know what's gonna happen here." And but it was kind of. I called him. I said, "Hey," he goes, "What the hell happened?" I said, "I think it burned a piss, and I pulled the plug out, and it's like he said, how the hell did you do that? It had it too lean." I said, "It ran 480 laps. It's not like this thing blowed up 10 laps." He said, he just busted my chops. But I owe so much to the Chief because he taught me so much about engines and about being an engine guy. And Rick, I've done this for 50 years now, and every situation you get into, you always take something away from it. And it's helped me here at GMS to build this company that I wouldn't want to do it that way, right? Or I want to do it this way. I took away from Junior part of how I wanted to do it. I took away from Roush how I'd want to do the engineering part, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I've certain people I work for, I said, man, I sure wouldn't want to treat people the way they do because, it's got to be about a family, and you got, so you can't make it into a grind because it's a grind anyway. Yeah. I mean, it's a grind. I mean, you have 38 weekends, so anyway, it's but the Pitties that was surreal. I couldn't believe, like I said, one day I was putting lower control arm bushings in a 66 Mustang. The next day or the next week, I'm lashing the valves on Richard Petty's car, right? Just like, holy, how'd this happen? But anyway, it's